I am making this announcement in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, being Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the laws of the state of New Jersey. The Planning Board Secretary has prepared a schedule of this meeting of the Planning Board of the Borough of Kenilworth for the year 2023 and has posted a true copy of this schedule on the bulletin board located at the front entrance of Borough Hall and has mailed true copies of this schedule to the local source of the Star Ledger and is maintaining a copy of this schedule in Borough Hall. Accordingly, the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Acts have been satisfied in regards to this meeting. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Paserno?
Here.
Mr. Morrow?
Here.
Mr. David?
Here.
Mr. Demando?
Here.
Mr. Clementi?
Here.
Mr. Cantina?
Here.
Mr. Mazzio?
Here.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Here.
Mr. Colella and Mr. Scuderi are excused.
Can we have a motion for the approval of the minutes of October 12th?
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Mazzio. Seconded by Mr. Clementi. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Communications, letter from the Borough Clerk regarding consistency review for ordinances 23, 26, 27, 28. 26, 27, and 28. Sorry about that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, we have items, bless you. I'm sorry? Returns of escrow for 2023-26, 2023-27, 2023-28, correct? Do you have that, Lou?
I have a different agenda. Thank you.
To return the escrow for these applicants.
Okay, so in item 6, the return of the escrow is the applicants William Morrow, $37.50, applicant James Duffy, $37.50, and Severia de Silva of $5. So, is there a motion to make sure that this money gets paid? Made by Mr. Mazzio, seconded by Mr. Demando. Do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Please.
Mr. Paserno?
Yes.
Mr. Finestrella? Oh, I'm sorry, I have the wrong one. Sorry. Mr. Morrow?
It's okay, I'm abstaining anyway.
Because he's got 37.50.
I don't want to jeopardize it.
You can go on all the rides.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Mr. Demando?
Yes.
Mr. Clementi?
Yes.
Mr. Cantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
Mr. Ladowdy?
Yes.
Okay, here we are. We're back into the ordinances that we were discussing in the workshop. And I think we all, if you'd like to pick back up on 2023-26, we can, just to have it for the record. So, Mr. Morrow, you were talking about 23-26. You want to continue?
Yes, sure. So 2326 was the ordinance that we had from the last meeting that we touched up a little bit to now allow for a resident to replace an HVAC unit where an HVAC unit was, even if it doesn't comply with current zoning requirements, should that HVAC unit be the same size as the last one. No other changes are being made to the ordinance, just allowing for that exception.
I think while speaking with our planner, we took a look at the ordinance. I know I did, I know most of us did, and the wording was changed, so it seems like it adheres to what we all talked about the last time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we could...
I agree with the good counsel.
Okay. I think we could have a motion here to approve this resolution.
That it's consistent with the master plan, Kevin?
Yes.
The current master plan, 26.
Correct.
Section 26. Yeah, you can do it piecemeal.
Well, I'd rather do a piecemeal,
Yeah.
because I think there's going to be some discussion, so let's get things off the board.
You want to do one at a time?
Yeah, or,
Yeah.
wasn't that piecemeal?
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-26 as amended and as discussed last month.
Motion made by Mr. Pantina, seconded by Mr. Demondo, roll call, please.
Mr. Paserno?
Yes.
Mr. Morrow?
Yes.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Mr. Demondo?
Yes.
Mr. Clementi? Yes. Mr. Pantina?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzio?
Yes.
And Mr. Dowdy?
Yes.
Okay, the next ordinance is ordinance number 23-27. Mr. Morrow?
Yes, so the next two actually will be things to create restrictions in towns. The last one was a liberalization, these two will not be. So for this one, 27, we are addressing short-term rentals in the borough. Currently today, short-term rentals do not have any regulations on them. We're talking parking regulations, registration regulations, permitting regulations, and all these types of things. We are introducing them in 2023-27. So popularly known as Airbnb or VRBO, allows you to rent your room or home or even apparatus within a home or outside of a home to others for short-term use. We will now be regulating them. So there'll be parking requirements, noise requirements, garbage requirements, maintenance requirements, a lot of things that will be on the owner of those properties to make sure they are not a nuisance to our neighbors.
Okay, so Mr. Morrow made that statement pretty much the same as he did in a workshop. There was some discussion. I don't know how much deeper we want to go into that. Mr. David and Mr. Ladati, just to talk a little bit more about it, and then we could see where we want to go with this.
Yeah, no, for me, I'm good. Like I said, I obviously stated my position, and while this is, if you're in favor of them, then this is obviously a step in the right direction, but I'm not in favor of them, so I don't see it as such, so anyway.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak to this?
Was this, just some background on it, has it been an issue? Have we been getting a lot of calls on it?
Apparently it has.
Yeah.
So we've had an issue in two sectors of town, I'd say, one on the north end, one on the south end, both having different experiences. On the south end, it seems to be a parking congestion issue. I guess it's on the block where there aren't as many spots as you might think. Down where, right behind Borough Hall, it's pretty congested over here, right? So we've had that as an issue here. And on the north side of town, it's been noise complaints and things like that. And there's a police officer who lives on one of the blocks. All the residents seem to complain to this one person, so it became known that there were Airbnbs in town. And then we find out, because we started talking about this at council, that there are people who are using them in town to supplement income, and they're not a problem. So we do have instances of Airbnbs popping up in town, and we took a look at what the complaints were about them, and that's what this ordinance is designed to address. We didn't want to stop the people that needed to supplement their income. Things have gotten a little expensive out there, and this is an area that they think they can make some money, and it hasn't been a problem. So we wanted to honor what was going on there, but at the same time correct some of the things we saw going wrong.
Anyone else?
So my opinion is, again, just take it from my experience, because I handle whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to name brands of these short-term rental corporations. Short-term rentals are not good. The majority of the crimes occur when people say, oh, I'm going to come there with my daughter, we're going to stay for 3 days, and meanwhile it's a blast-out party, drug deals going on, everything. I would like to see the language more restrictive, to be clear, in my opinion. I just know it's not good. These 3-day short-term rentals or week rentals are not great for a township. And that's just that's my opinion. You guys do whatever you want to do.
I have a question. Phil, what's the insurance requirements for it? Because when you turn your home into a rental property,
Yep.
You know, your homeowner's insurance changes.
Correct.
And things like that. So what are the
So
requirements?
paragraph E of whatever section I'm in here outlines that the requirement is proof of general liability insurance at a minimum of $500,000. So that's not homeowners insurance. That's a specific type of liability insurance that businesses would take out. So that's the insurance requirement there. There are also things that
But my
address
point
the
is, I guess my
noise
question is
complaints.
more on the homeowner's side. So, because on
Well,
the
a
homeowner's side,
homeowner doesn't need insurance if they don't have a mortgage. So we've created a requirement in situations where no insurance may exist today.
Well, if a
Well, I
homeowner
mean, so let
doesn't
me
want...
just stop you there. So if someone is doing it to supplement their income, I would think if they don't have a mortgage,
If it's profitable for them to do this, they'll have to get a $500,000 general liability policy.
I don't know that that's...
We didn't, because, you know, the fact is that you take out insurance to mitigate a risk, and most of us only know we have insurance because the bank told us to get it. And if there are people who've paid off their homes and don't have insurance, we have bigger problems in town. So again, this is happening today, and we don't know if there's insurance where it's happening. This creates a certainty for us to understand what's going on.
$500,000 seems light, though, you know.
Yeah.
And anything you do anymore, those are old general liability limits. There's nobody I do business with anymore that has less than $1 million, but, I mean, that's just...
We thought of that too, and then it was, well, these are homeowners. So we're trying to strike a balance of what we were really seeing in town. But you're absolutely right, who's suing for $500,000?
Okay. Is there anyone else? All right. I think there's a lot of discussion on this that still needs to be had. And as far as I can hear, what is going on is that there's a lot of questions. And it seems as though we need to table this and exercise at least our time to digest what is going on here. So although this is, I'm sure this was done in the good spirit of trying to get something done the right way, but I also think that the planning board had more questions than I thought they would have to present back to the governing body.
Now, most of the questions, though, are related to the regulation itself, I guess, administering of it, the penalties for it, not necessarily the land use, which is what I understood the consistency review is for. So I'm a little confused again on why we wouldn't be talking about this today, and after understanding the 35-day piece, will you be calling a special meeting to talk about this next week when you're ready to look at it? Because we're going to have one council meeting in December, we're going to be looking to act on this. So that's my question. Will you be having a special meeting?
Well, I think we need to have the time to digest this and take a look at it. I don't think it's good or bad. I need, from what I heard Mr. David and all of you say, I, for one, would like to have some kind of balance, and to make that quick decision here tonight over something as important as this, I get it. I also understand that maybe somebody wants to make a few extra dollars on their house, but I also am now thinking, what happens to the neighbor next door? And I have to look at that from a homeowner's perspective as well. I didn't buy a single-family home in a single-family area to be living next to a multifamily dwelling. So those are my thought processes, but I don't know if it makes sense to me yet without digesting it more, doing a little bit more research.
And the master plan talks about conserving the current zones as is. So again, if I'm in an R1 or R2, whatever the district is, and that particular district is specific to single-family residences, somebody's now renting out a dwelling, a room, or whatever. To me, that's now become a multifamily home, as you just stated, and that's not conserving or preserving the existing neighborhood.
So I suggest you look at the definition of a multifamily home before you jump to that conclusion. And if you need time to do this, I thank you, Lou, for indicating 35 days. If you could tell us when that start date is, I'm going to come back to my question. We have a council meeting coming up in December. We're going to want to act on this. So will there be a special meeting? Because I don't think 35 days from the clock, there's no other planning board meeting this month. And the next one may be positive over 35 days.
So I'm trying to understand I understand that you're passionate about this, but there's no one bleeding in the street here either, correct? I mean, you want to get something done, but you have to listen to the other side.
Like I said, there's nothing today. So this is the Wild West. You want outright restriction. I understand that. And this is nudging in that direction. So if we don't move on this, we're back at the Wild West. All of the concerns you had, we can't do anything about.
So what's one more month?
Why would we want to allow the Wild West?
But Wild West has been continuing for 20, 30 years.
We're at the council meeting getting the complaints for the residents who are next door, the ones you're concerned about. That's how we're going to address this. And the governing body chose to do it this way. I respect everything that's going on here today, but it sounds like you want to recommend approaches to the regulation, not necessarily talking about the land use issues, though, because the governing body is, from my understanding, who decides whether these are permitted or not. If you're going to do it in the master plan on the rewrite, I guess that will be where we come together.
It sounds like you're trying to push it down the board's throat.
There's nothing being pushed down your throat. This was on the agenda tonight. I'm sorry if you didn't.
Yeah, but again, we had 4 or 5
days is not 5
to
days.
read how many pages of...
23.
I'm here to answer any of your questions. If you're ready beforehand, have them.
I can ask a question. So,
I would like to create order one section at a time.
So what is the difference between, we were talking about multifamily dwellings, you
Right.
said your definition, and you had a definition of it, whatever. My question is, when you're renting 2 rooms in a home, or 3 rooms in a home, when does that become a boarding house, which are banned, right? So how does that affect this ordinance and what we're talking about restrictions today? So what is the definition, where's that fine line between renting 2 rooms in your house, which is going on, or renting a room for 3 days to 4 different guys or whatever?
And that's why there needs to be more discussion.
And that's what I don't, see, that's my definition. So thank you for bringing up the I said, yeah, maybe you're right, like, what is the definition of it? And I said, well, doesn't that certainly become a boarding house then, right? Which is banned, if I'm correct.
Which is the building.
So I have a question for Mr. O'Brien, maybe for Lou, that if the board didn't take any action tonight, the council could still pass the ordinance on second reading, can't they?
Yes, after the 35-day period.
Right.
Let me talk briefly about how this plays out. We're here to recommend that all or none or some of these ordinances are consistent with the current master plan. You've already acted on 26, you're saying it's okay. You know, it was 8-0. We should go through, my suggestion would be to go through 27 and 28. And we haven't gotten to 28 yet, I don't know where everyone is on that. 27, let's say some of you have not read it, you have questions about it, you're not sure, or you don't like it, or you like it. My suggestion would be we can take a head count on that, similar, yes, no, and then move on to 28, and then pass along our quote report to the governing body saying 26 and 28 are the best things since sliced bread. We have issues with 27 for whatever reason, crime. It's not clear to us, whatever, we haven't read it yet, and the governing body can then move ahead on 26 and 28, regardless of what we say or don't say. When they get to 27, if the majority of the planning board has said, we can't recommend this, or we don't think it's consistent, or we think it's inconsistent for whatever, negatives, it's not restrictive enough, drugs, crime, then the governing body can still pass it. The only difference is they would have to have the majority of the full authorized membership, which probably would not be a problem. They would need 3, like if it was well, they would need a majority of the full authorized membership, which is, what, 7? So they would need 4. They would need 4 votes to go against a negative recommendation from the, and I'm not using flowery language, if the majority of you say on 27, we don't know. We don't think it's great. It can be, the governing body can still move ahead with it as they've written it. They would have to put something on, they would need 4 votes and have to put something on the record why, despite what, and I'm assuming the majority of the planning board is raising concerns about, despite that, here's why we're still going to move ahead with it. And they can do that. Now, down the road, when we finish our master plan, if you still have issues with this, it'll be probably be on the books. We can take that position in the context of maybe the master plan, which is not zoning, and that's not the law, that's policy. And down the road, if this turns into a crazy situation, the governing body hopefully can take another look at it. But right now, I'd rather not mess with the 35 days. This is in front of us now. Worst case, we say we got real concerns, we don't know. Let's just move on and let the board, because I don't want to do the 35 days without it's the planning.
Look,
board having
we're not
something to
talking
say.
about 35 days because we want to stretch it to 35 days.
I know.
In other words, when,
I don't want-
in another scenario, if I may, in another scenario, if an applicant comes up here and we don't have at least 14 days to vet the information in front of us, we push it back and say, listen, we just didn't have time.
Correct.
People are working,
Correct.
whatever the case may be. My point here is that there is two sides to this.
Yes.
We have also learned from our mistakes in the past that once you put an ordinance out there because we want to get it in, and we want to get it in for now, what happens is, it may not be the ordinance that the planning board really wants to look at. Not that we want to go against the governing body, but we are a planning board for a reason, to give also our suggestions, to tweak it out, to maybe say, listen, this is pretty good, but, there's 7 of us up here, or 6 of us up here that says, no, we don't want it at all. Or maybe, okay, you can do it on the weekends. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point when I say something like that.
Well, and if
But
we
there's
think
another-
if we think about last month and the air conditioning ordinance, if we had just rubber stamped it's consistent, they would have passed something that banned air conditionings anywhere except in the rear yard. So by us reviewing, discussing it, making sure it was consistent and so on, we actually corrected a possible mistake that I don't think the governing body intended, because obviously you came back and modified it. So there's nothing wrong with this.
But I don't think Bill on his own could say to us, okay, we'll waive the 35 days.
No, I'm not saying
Ask
that.
for it. I don't think we need it there. I think we just make a vote on this 27 now, right? Because council could just, you said council could do.
They can do it.
whatever they want anyway.
Otherwise, you had a
They can do what they
special
want.
meeting when you had a chance to review it. I mean, we're jumping to conclusions now about how we're going to say no to this. Why don't you take
I
time
didn't say
to
we're
read
gonna
it?
say no to it.
Well,
I
I
didn't
understand
say-
where
We
this
don't
is
know if there's a
going.
majority.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
Have another meeting next Thursday for an hour, we'll do it over Zoom, that's allowed, and you have a chance to review this. I mean, today, nothing applies. So everybody wants something to apply. You actually want an outright ban. This goes in the right direction. I don't want to shove anything down your throat. I don't want you to feel forced like you have to do something. If the reason why you're not comfortable with certifying, or whatever the word would be for this tonight, why don't we have a special meeting in a week?
Or
I mean,
the
Mr.
second
Chairman,
reading
that's
of the-
on you if you
or
want to
the
do
second reading
that.
of the ordinance, if you feel so inclined, you could, whoever wants to show up at the council meeting and say, this isn't really what we're looking for.
Well, first of all, we haven't even had a vote here. We don't know if it's going to be a majority. You could still vote yes for
Correct.
27 right
Correct.
now.
I think
We don't
that's-
know what
But
it
if
is.
people have a problem because they haven't read it, I don't want to throw it down your throats, and I don't want you to feel uncomfortable that you haven't had a chance to read it. So if that's the case, and it is, it's a few pages long, not like the other ones that were 1 or 2 pages, would you want to just have a special meeting next week to go over what you didn't have a chance to review tonight?
That's up to the rest of the board.
I think the chairman.
Even if the board,
Chairman has to have a quorum, so it's up to the board members.
So
whether
that's
they
the
want to attend or
problem.
not.
Next week starts already holiday week, right? And a lot of us are away. I for one. I have holiday in Georgia now with my son, and I don't know who else is going to be here. And I'm not trying to make this more difficult than it is, but there is some things here that need to be discussed. So we could vote on it. We could see how it comes out. But if we could come up with a plan for a special meeting on a certain day where everybody can make it, and you can have a quorum, I'm not opposed to that, but I know how it gets around this time of year. It's hard enough to get here in December, never mind in November with Thanksgiving around the corner. Most of us are not here that entire week. So I think maybe we should just vote on this and see what the feel is of where this is going.
can I,
You may.
one other point.
That's what we hear.
If all of the board members read 27 thoroughly and understood it, and still said we're not thrilled with this, the governing body could still say thanks, but we're going to pass it.
That's what I said.
They can still, they'd have to put on the record, they have to have at least four members voting for it, and they have to put on the record why they're not happy with our or why they're going to do it despite the board's views. And does that maybe down the road, I always think of that in terms of litigation, when that's on the record. Some fancy person's going to want an Airbnb or not have it, and someone's going to say, well, your planning board is against it. I mean, the governing body runs the show when it comes to ordinances. So they can do whatever they want to do, whether we've read this or not. And I don't know if anyone wants to come back for a special meeting. I don't want to risk the 35 days. I don't want something to happen automatically. My view would be that we're sitting here. If you don't like 27, just put it on the record. There have been stuff on the record already, and just say we haven't read it. We don't know really whether we like it better or not. But we would recommend that the governing body hold off on this. That would be the approach. Say, please hold off on that. At least you've gotten your licks in within 35 days. If they want to hold off, they can hold off and do 26 and 28. And,
Okay, before we go to 28, let's stay with 27,
Yeah.
because that's going to convolute everything. Mr. Demondo, you had a question?
No, I think the bigger issue, it looks like everybody's a majority against this, but it's still going on as we speak. So obviously the option of banning it outright is not an option for us today, but there's nothing in place to regulate it, which I see where Councilman Morrow's coming from in that aspect, because I just looked up on Airbnb, and even though I still see, even with the ordinance in place, there's still going to be challenges to, in terms of manpower trying to regulate this with these apps, and who knows what pops up tomorrow, and how we're going to keep count of how many Airbnbs or these units pop up, but there's nothing in place now to kind of protect the borough, which I think is the bigger issue at this moment.
Well, it wouldn't be that we're for or against 27, because what I'm hearing is some people don't know enough to know, or haven't read it enough to know whether they would be or not. It's more, we have pause, so maybe there's some issues. It may be great in the long run, it may not be, but right now, on November 9th, we're really requesting that the governing body proceed with what they want to proceed with, and maybe on 27,
no, I totally understand.
something like that.
Bigger issue, it's happening now, and there's nothing to kind of help regulate that in the process.
Can I ask the planner what his opinion of the consistency review would be? I mean, it's what you do for a living, right? I'm just curious what your opinion is.
Your assessment that a consistency review is based upon what the master plan says and recommends is appropriate. And it's up to this board to find whether or not the proposed ordinance is or is not consistent with the master plan. So it's up to you to take a look at the master plan and use that language to decide whether it is or is not consistent.
But
With respect to this ordinance, what would your opinion be?
Yeah, no, it's the current ordinance. So right now, if someone wanted to come in with an Airbnb, however we define that, would they need a use variance, since we don't seem to cover it either way? Or are you saying multiple, whatever we talked about? Like, would they need a use variance where they could come into this board wearing its Board of Adjustment hat and put case-by-case restrictions on? You make it a conditional use. Maybe that's, make an Airbnb a conditional use, so we're not, so anyone who wanted it would come in for a hearing, their neighbors would be notified, we could hear it and come up with restrictions if need be, and tailor it. What do you want to do? I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if you would need a use variance today or not, or whether it's...
Currently, there are no regulations concerning short-term rentals either, and I was wrong in my statement before. I misread what I thought I saw, either in the general legislation or in the land use ordinance, which means that anybody who wanted to do that would not be allowed to do it in
As a matter of right.
In any of the residential zones, and for any zone that allowed residential, any of the non-residential zones, of course, is not allowed.
So if I'm understanding you, anyone who does just that is breaking the law. They're not supposed to do it. Is that what you're telling me?
It is not allowed under the ordinance, so yeah.
It's an Airbnb.
So you
And so what Mr. Morrow is suggesting, that he wants to have them do this because they're already doing it anyway, but he wants it regulated.
Your opinion
Am I close?
is that this is not allowed today?
Yes.
Is it your opinion or fact?
Well, he's opining on an ordinance.
I mean,
there is no ordinance.
So, you know, we have to be careful what we say here.
Yes, we do. There are three categories of use. There are those that are specifically...
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. There are those that are specifically allowed, permitted. There are those that are specifically prohibited. And then there are some uses that are not on the specifically permitted or specifically prohibited list. However, our ordinance is written so that anything that is not specifically permitted is not allowed. So in every zone, we may have 20 or 30 uses listed. And if anybody's familiar with the SIC industrial codes and all the uses, there's thousands and thousands of different kinds of uses. We can't anticipate that.
So, question to Mr.
And it's a normal scenario. If it's not permitted, it's...
So question to Mr. O'Brien. So what you just said, it's not permitted, it's not allowed, correct, right?
Correct.
Okay, and if it's not allowed, it needs a permit, right? Or it needs a use variance.
Or would need a variance currently.
And if somebody's caught doing something like that, just like an illegal resident, the building inspector or the zoning inspector can go out and
shut it down.
Summons and shut down, right?
Yes.
So therefore, there is a way to control it right now.
well,
Wait, I'm talking. There is a way to control it right now. And this can wait another month to tweak or something like that. Listen, I'm just one guy. And one guy does 8 more and do whatever you want to do. But we have rules and regulations and time limits for people to look at. Because most people have day jobs. And most people don't just like getting 27 pages, say, here, look at it and read it and vote on it. I'm not going to vote on it. I just got it from Kathy tonight. Yeah, I got it in my email 5 days ago, but, you know, it went along with 200 other emails per day.
Okay.
So that's my opinion.
So let me respond, please, because I think you're done. The enforcement is not addressed in what Kevin is talking about. We actually put teeth around that. So if it's allowed or not allowed, that's an interpretation of the statute that, of an ordinance that our building department has not taken. So the zoning officer here is not going after these because he doesn't think he has the teeth or the allowance to do this. So that's an interesting issue here, that our planner has one opinion, the building department has a different opinion, and every town that we've been looking at as we've been doing our homework on this ordinance seems to be putting something explicitly in place when they want to address short-term rentals. That's what Kenilworth needs to do. So I respect that you have a day job. I've got one too. I'm here at the planning board. I'm also doing the ordinances with the governing body. So I absolutely know what it's like to have a day job and a few other night jobs. But this allows us to actually regulate this. This allows us to enforce it. Mr. DeMondo showed on his phone this is happening today, and we're not enforcing it. This gives the police the authority to do something. This gives the town the authority to do something, as well as the zoning office.
So if you put that ordinance in place, let me just ask you, if you put the ordinance in place, what makes you think they're going to enforce that when they're not enforcing it now?
Because we have clear rules that need to be followed that will be enforced. This is not clear what we're saying.
What Mr. Pantini just said, we have a rule that is not being enforced. So why don't we enforce this rule first?
That's an interpretation that's not happening at the enforcement level.
But it's not an interpretation. Just let me speak. Okay?
Well, by what he said, it's going on.
But just let me speak. There's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on the boulevard, right? Most people violate it. Come on, we're normal, right? You go 26, you go 30, whatever it is. Do the cops enforce it? Yeah, they try. But do they enforce it all? No, they don't. Why? I don't know why. It doesn't happen. It can happen. They could go out and ticket everybody at 26. Why? Because they can. Because there's an ordinance in town and there's a state law on it, because it's statutory, right? They could do that. Why does the building department not enforce it? I don't know. They don't work for me. Why does the zoning department not enforce it? I don't know. They don't work for me. But if they did work for me and they didn't enforce it, I would get new people. That's my opinion.
The last statement put me over the top. The last statement put me over the top when he said that they're not enforcing it now, and you said you want to put it in place so they can enforce it. I just don't see the differentiation, what you're going to do that makes them enforce it. Is there a constable in place that's going to enforce this? That's already there now?
So our town attorney took the position to create this ordinance with us. So it's interesting that there'd be an interpretation of the current land use ordinance that would have banned it already, because that was one of the options that we were considering.
The reason that we're discussing this is because you put it in front of us.
I totally get that. However, our town planners, I think, taking a position on our land use ordinance, that is the first time I'm hearing it. And we've been working with the town attorney, looking at other...
But we're not here to police, Bill.
I'm sorry, say it again.
We're not here to police.
You're not here, okay.
We're not here to, we don't police, right?
It's fair.
I'll get with you one second. We're not here to police it, right? We can't go down to the building department and say, hey, you have to go to Billy Morrow's house because he's got 6 people living in each one of the rooms. We're not here to do that.
Yeah.
That's what that department over there does. But you're saying your ordinance that you're telling us that you want us to adhere to tonight is going to now be policed by what body? They're not doing it now, and it's not allowed.
I feel like I'm debating things that we debate at the council level, and I respect that everybody has an opinion on what they want to see happen as policy in town, but the fact of the matter is, we're here with an ordinance that was passed by the governing body, and we are looking for a consistency review.
Okay, so with that being said, this is the planning board, and we're here to have a civil discussion about why it could work, why it can't work, and why we need time to review it. So, Mr.
I guess I just don't want to continue this, but, so, you know, my vision, I love what you're doing, and you're trying to restrict this. I just think the language should be more restrictive or banned. I'm more to the right on this. But if you're getting if you're being bombarded with people complaining about these Airbnbs, right? You said people are coming to council. So you're trying to satisfy, like, I think it's more important to satisfy the concerns of the regular citizens than the 10% of the people in town that may be doing the Airbnbs or these short-term leases. So it seems to me that you're trying to protect 10% of the people and 90% are going to be affected by these potential 3-day leases. That's my opinion. That's why I feel it should be restricted. I mean, I don't have that people come up there to council and ask you, and you don't have to answer me at all, because it really doesn't matter, because we're doing a consistency review, but I just would like to see the logic behind what you guys are thinking. So then you come up and say, hey, I have an Airbnb, you're trying to screw me.
Well, there were reach-outs after the meeting when they heard the complaints coming in from the meeting. So
that's all we need.
We had, and I'll tell you, it's not overwhelming, the complaints. It was 2 areas in town, 1 block on the north end, 1 on the south end. And we looked at their complaints seriously, and we came up with a way to address them, while at the same time, we also had people telling us, I need to supplement my income, this is how I'm doing it. And in the areas they're doing it, could or may not be on your block, right? And you have no idea.
Right, but they could be, yeah.
And when we look at what's actually worded in 27, I feel like I'm fighting here, because this is the right way to go on this. We're restricting parking, we're restricting noise, we're restricting lighting. There are so many things that we're doing here that are making it a better situation in town for the neighbors already dealing with these Airbnbs.
So would council consider putting more restrictive language in this? And then we could have, if you do that, maybe we could have a special meeting if the board would like so. That's just my thought.
We could recommend that.
Okay.
We could recommend one. I mean, we could recommend a few things and then cut it loose.
I think that's what we're going with that. I think we're going to have to have a motion here now. I think we've exhausted this. Don't we all agree? We've exhausted this for now. Okay? So I think we're going to have to put a motion out there to ask the council to put different language in there and give us enough time to take a look at this. I am not opposed to a special meeting if we can get a quorum before the end of the month. But I can't make that decision because I know I'm not going to be here. So it's easy for me to say, Bill, that, yeah, let's have a special meeting when I know I'm not going to be around. Yes.
So why don't we just vote on this, right? And we can say, okay, we're voting yes or no, which if it goes yes, then there's no issue. If the planning board says no to this, just say we're voting no, but we would like council to take and maybe relook at or put more restrictive language.
Well, I think what you want is to say they're banned, because you didn't read it to say what's restrictive or not. So it's either banned or something else.
I agree, that's probably right. So
then let's go back to saying that the board didn't have enough of time to review this document, and we'll look at it another time. We don't have to use that language.
I didn't review this document.
I'm sorry?
I reviewed this.
Well, you have, but others haven't, so we could say it both ways. Some of the board members didn't have ample time to review the document. Other people are saying that we would like some of the language retracted or implement new language.
Those who did read it are of the view that it should be tighter.
Right.
Or more restrictive.
Something like that.
Leave it, so the governing body, two members of the council are here, I'm sure they've heard it. They've heard what the board's saying. So I think that should be it, we're...
Okay, let's move on.
So do we vote on this, yes, no? What do we do?
Yeah, we're going to do that now.
Let's
We're
make a
gonna-
motion.
I'm sorry?
Somebody has to make a motion.
Kevin, would it
one
be,
way or the other.
if it's a negative, would it be that the governing body at this point in time does not feel that 27 is consistent with the master plan?
The planning board, yes.
The planning, what did I say? The planning board is consistent. So if you're on the fence or a no,
But for the record, we didn't even discuss whether or not we think it's consistent with the master plan
Well,
yet. We heard some...
the master plan has nothing in it, so we don't know if it's consistent.
So at least something should be out there saying,
The master plan has a
if we're going to vote on something,
Master plan has a number of goals, which are outlined for the borough. There are recommendations concerning residential areas, and somebody should be citing the master plan, whether it's up or it's down.
Let's simplify this.
Okay.
Basically, the motion that should be on the floor is that the planning board did not have enough time to review the document and is going to need more time to digest the paperwork in front of us. And otherwise, we're going to have 5 different ways that you're going to read this. Once we look at it, then we can make our recommendation. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, the only thing I can add to that is that we have to get it done within 35 days, or it's kind of a moot point. And I don't know that we can pull together another meeting between now and our next board meeting, because that's what we're talking
Well,
about.
what about having it on the 30th of November? It's the end of the month, it's within the 35 days, it's 2 weeks or 2 weeks before the next board meeting, and it's, whatever, I don't know. It's not holiday week, and it's not league week. And
I
Just saying.
don't want to say, yes, we're going to have a Zoom, quorum, or whatever. I'm not going to be here.
No, I'm just
So
throwing it out.
if you can, I'll probably be gone right up until the 1st of the year.
Oh, okay.
I mean, 1st of December.
Oh, okay. What's the 35th day? What's the 35th day?
December
It's
5th.
35 days from a referral, whenever.
It says final adoption.
When was referred?
When we received.
November 3rd
She
is
sent
the
it out
letter
on the
from
4th.
Angela. Is that the referral date? The letter from
The 4th.
Angela to the board?
Yeah.
To the 3rd.
So you have
We
to...
got it on Friday.
We got it on
It
Friday.
says final adoption
First
December
is,
6th.
why don't we do it on a Monday, the
Yeah,
the
Friday.
4th?
Right, we got it on November 4th.
Date is when it was received by the board secretary.
You received it?
November 3rd.
Okay. She received it the 4th.
Oh, wait.
Looking at the letter.
Third, I'm sorry. It's third.
Saturday.
If you're looking at the letter and it's the 3rd, you received it on the 3rd.
Yeah.
So it's 35 days from there, but we want to get it done. We would like to do that ahead of time. However,
Why don't you do December, anybody around December 4th or 5th? That's the...
December 8th is 35 days.
it's the Immaculate
It's not, is
Conception.
it?
No, you have until the 4th, December 4th
They got
or
November
5th, could work, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay on the 5th.
Wednesday council meeting.
If we want to have a meeting, I'm okay on the
I'm looking that up now.
I should be good on Tuesday the 5th. Tuesday the 5th.
First and third Wednesday.
That's what I'm saying, Tuesday the 5th.
December 5th?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Wednesday the 6th.
Yeah, do we have enough?
Is there enough time to turn around from?
So we should have a quorum.
We have a quorum,
Tony,
so-
Lou, myself, Rich, you'll be back.
December 5th?
Let the other board members know.
Nick, you good?
I don't know, I got a couple meetings that night, but I'll see if I can get it out of it.
Well, we got the other board members you gotta let know also, right?
Yeah.
Would that be focused on just 27?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think so.
We didn't even talk about 28 yet.
So we don't want...
Oh, yeah, we don't know. Just as controversial, who knows?
Well, I hope it's not. I'll let you guys finish doing what you're doing on 27.
Are you okay with that, Kathy?
Yes.
7 o'clock? 7 o'clock?
Well, I think we've established we could have a meeting on December 5th to review 27, so before we...
So let's just make that motion now. What do
Well, I was
we
going
do?
to say, wait, we'll see if maybe we're adding 28 to it or not.
Let's have a
right?
special meeting on
So-
the 5th.
We have it in our,
We didn't even vote if there's a
right. I'm just saying, let's move to 28 and then come back to both.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
So
we're gonna
we
do.
need to see if this is going to be a yes vote or not, or are we just going to say that we don't have enough time? Is that the vote, or are we not?
The
we're not
vote
voting?
here, we have to
the
vote
motion
on
is-
it
okay.
to say that basically we didn't have enough time to review it. We're going to hold a special meeting on December 5th, and we'll get back.
Okay, so then,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
maybe
fine.
we should make a motion to
Yeah, close this one out.
table the review of ordinance 2327 until December 5th.
Did you just make that motion, so we don't have to repeat it?
I won't make it, okay.
Okay.
Bill, when does the council meet?
The day after, the 6th.
There you go. So, you just heard the motion. Who's seconding that?
I'll
motion?
second.
Okay, second, roll call.
Oh, you just do it all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we can do all in favor. So we're going to carry 2023-27 to December 5th. We don't need a workshop, it's just a meeting, and the meeting should be held at 7, okay?
And who can make it with, everybody?
I might not be, I have to check my,
Frank?
It's going to be Zoom or in person?
No, we're in person.
It's in person?
Yeah, we'll do it in person. And that's something else we need to talk about.
And,
I can make it.
okay.
So, may I ask a question on this resolution, or whatever we're doing, pushing this back to the 5th? What information are we going to request from either our board attorney, council, Kevin,
So,
to supply us with before the 5th? I mean, if you send us the same document, it's worthless, right?
well, this is,
It's
well,
the ordinance that you're reviewing
Well,
against
you
the
know, I
master
just
plan.
want some more, well, I also want more information about what what's the definition of a boarding house is.
so,
Zoning.
so that's some of the research that we have to
Yeah,
do, right?
it's exactly what I'm looking for,
Right?
yeah.
And then we're going to make our recommendation, and then we'll go from there.
don't
I'm
we,
sorry?
excuse me, Kevin, don't we have an ordinance in town already for boarding houses?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to be supplied, I want,
So it's in,
Boarding
it's in,
houses are not allowed.
huh?
Boarding houses are not allowed.
Only have one?
Yep.
There's one that's grandfathered.
Yeah, the one that's grandfathered. And there's good food downstairs.
all I want to have is enough information so I can make an educated decision on this. That's all I'm asking for.
I didn't hear
All
you.
I said is I want enough information to satisfy me so I can make an educated decision, yes or no on this. That's simple.
Okay, so, yes.
In response to Mr. Ladati's comment, I suggest everybody look at the current master plan, especially the goals and objectives, and at the residential area. You'll have copies of the master plan.
Yes.
If you need one, Kathy or I can get it to you, just let us know.
Thank you.
Also, in the course of reading this, I did note there were several typos, I think, or missing words. I will send those highlighted parts to you, Kathy.
Missing words where?
It's on 27?
Very lengthy, yeah.
In 27?
Yes. In my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like something's wrong. So I'll pass that back to you. Does the board want a copy of that, Sharon?
Yes.
That communication, okay.
Yes,
And then if you could give it to the
Forward
clerk
it on
and
to
have
the
them tell us, Sharon.
Yeah, we can address the screen or type errors with the
I think
attorney on,
you're missing a couple words
yeah,
here.
that's all. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Can we move on?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ordinance 2023-28.
Okay, board. So this one, also a limitation on current situations that go on. There are not-for-profits and things like that that are permissible in the commercial zones and some by constitution of state and government of the federal level, permissible in the residential zones as well. We can't deny them. So the not-for-profits exist. What we're doing with this ordinance is making sure that they live in harmony with the residents on those blocks. So we've set new bulk standards to be applicable. They're different in the commercial and in the residential zones. But as you'll see, they put the requirements on there for parking and shrubbery and landscaping and setbacks and lot size. You just can't open up a not-for-profit on anybody's block in Kenilworth without adhering to these standards. And that's what we're looking to address here.
When you say not-for-profit, is that like the vets or something like that, or?
It actually,
I'm just asking.
Yeah, it's everything from the Girl Scouts
or
to
something like
the, House of Worship explicitly noted in here.
Oh, it includes houses of worship too?
Yes, we're blanketly hitting the not-for-profit realms with this because they become sort of like businesses, right? People will travel to them from other places, park their cars on the streets, and then they have lighting and floodlighting that they're trying to advertise what they're doing there. We don't want that. So we're trying to put these standards in place so it can remain a peaceful residential neighborhood.
Does it talk about official not-for-profits, like 501?
I don't believe we don't say 501c3 in conversations with the attorney on that. That's not all not-for-profits, only a subset of them apparently. So we didn't want to limit it to the 501c3s.
So I'm going to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in here. And Mr. Morrow, you're probably not going to like what I have to say, but I have to say it. If this board just said that we're going to move 27 to December 5th because they didn't have time to read the documents, it seems as though they don't have time, didn't read this one either because they didn't get it. I'm going to make a recommendation that we table this one as well to the 5th, only because I feel that we're going to have that same push and pull about asking questions of a document that has not been reviewed at this point.
So this one is considerably shorter than 27. Now 27 is a bear, it sets a lot of requirements out. This is literally setting out one paragraph of bulk standards to apply to a residential, one to apply to a commercial. If you want to take 5 minutes to look it over, ask me any questions you have. I don't necessarily know if this one was at length like 27 was, Mr. Paterno, but obviously the call's yours.
Well, it is, and I think one could say that if we stood on that the board didn't have time to read 27, but we did take the time to talk to you about 26 and approve that, I think it would be consistent that we table this too, and it would be enough of time because your council meeting would be the very next day. And so you're not going to lose any stride here. But I think we need, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Mr. Chairman, I was actually going to make that motion myself, but I did want to hear the explanation from Mr. Morrow as to what was behind the governing body's, thoughts as to why this is needed, because it's important to me, why you want it.
Right.
But now I do need the time to review it. So.
Because a lot of things happen, Once we walk out these doors, people in the street will say, oh my God, how did they table this, but they didn't have time to read this, but approved this, and we can't do that. We can't be all over the place. We got to keep our house in order.
Yeah, no, again, I agreement, and I was going to make a motion that we also table this to December 5th.
And it's fine if we could discuss it more. If you want to discuss it more, Mr. Morrow, go right ahead.
I'm happy to take questions if you have them.
Does anybody have, Mr. Lozano?
So again, and I think that maybe it was a communication problem, because again, going back to the master plan committee, which we held countless meetings on, I think we covered this also, right? Made some changes to the master plan, and maybe if we would have had, like, Mr. Moore, no, I don't know if you've received a copy of our changes or not on that. Maybe this would have been all, we could have done this later on, or when the master plan was done. Because we did put a lot of time and effort in, and I don't have the master plan and our changes right here with me to see if this kind of falls into what we were thinking also. If it does, then I have no problem with it. But I like to see that matchup. I know what you're saying, this goes with what's on the books now. I understand that. But I'm talking about maybe if there was a better communication earlier with our master plan fund, what we were doing, it would have been solved a lot of these issues.
Was that released to the public yet, or to the rest of outside the committee? I know you guys were discussing it.
That was released to the full board.
It was released to the full board, and didn't you ask for a copy?
I asked for a copy, I never got it.
I'm not sure.
Can I have a copy?
The master plan that we were working on, was that released to the full board?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's why I don't know about it. Yeah, no communication.
No, but that's what I'm saying, yeah. So, but I know we spent a ton of time on this issue.
Again, nothing applies today.
I understand that.
And if you want to take the
But
time
3
to
years
read it,
of
we're going to put a
work,
meeting.
3 years of work. You
I
know,
hear you.
and countless meetings of sitting in here at night after night in the cold, right? So,
Okay. Anyone else have questions for this?
Well, do you want to entertain my official motion?
Yeah, I just didn't know if while Mr. Morrow's here and you wanted to ask him a question, he's here.
Yes,
Right.
I mean, certainly people should ask their questions.
Anybody want to ask questions? If not,
so I'm just more concerned about like the placement of some of these places, and I really haven't gone through this one because I spent a lot of time on 27, as you can imagine. But I mean, I'm just worried about like, is there anything in here about placement? And I guess I'll just read it later on about, like, I don't want a church next to my house. I don't want a temple. I don't want.
You can't stop that.
No, well, I don't know if you can.
Nor can this board.
I'm not sure. I'm just asking.
What we're doing, though, is if a institution like that wants to open up next door to your home, there are bulk standards that they have to meet.
I know you can't stop the shelters, right? The drug shelters and all that stuff from coming next to you, but I'm not so sure churches and stuff, right?
that's why you need more time to digest
Yeah.
this.
The master plan identifies locations within the town.
Exactly.
Those things are allowed. So we don't ban them, but we restrict where they can be.
Okay.
As far as I know, unless we wasted our time, Kevin, that's legal.
That is true,
Right.
and currently there is actually a zone
Right.
for these uses. It's the community serving zone, and each one of these identified uses has been placed in that zone with its own special standards.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
How about that motion?
All right, I'll make the motion that we table the consistency review for ordinance 2328 until December.
Second by Mr. DeMondo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Nay. Okay, we're going to move on. Do we have any comments for the good of the board? So, I
I'll
guess,
just wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving because I don't think we'll see each other between now and then, right?
so I have to address a very, very sensitive issue, and Mr. Morrow, this really does pertain to you. I have to do this only because I didn't get a reaction from your governing body and your attorney. We pretty much know what the whole situation is here. And I did place a call to you, and I asked you, and I told you that when you're sitting in this chair, you wear this hat, and when you sit in the other chair, you wear that hat. When you're home, you wear another hat. You wear 3 hats, and that was what I explained. However, we got a very damaging letter from the attorney of the applicant, and there's nothing personal as far as my reaction to the letter. I went according to what I'm supposed to do. When the letter came in from Mr. Paparo, I contacted the vice chair, I contacted my attorney, and I said, what do I do? Because now we have a situation that needs to be addressed. We don't talk politics here in our planning board. We keep it as clean as possible. We had to send the letter off by way of Mr. Rego to the mayor. The mayor was supposed to send it off to the town attorney and the governing body. There was language in there that the attorney thought that it would be best, the best interest of the applicants that are coming before us, that the governing body replace you with another liaison. Not that you're a bad guy, nothing. You could borderline made an error. However, if the applicants come before us and say that all Republicans are against anything, or all Democrats are against anything, there is a lot of Republicans in this room, which means there's not a level playing field. So it makes it difficult for us to, as a team, to hear an application and handle it with the same respect that we would give anyone. We may not like stuff up here. We may not like that the guy painted his house purple. but I do know that we have to keep our thought process to ourselves and then figure out how we're going to make it all happen. With that being said, I'm not 100% sure why we didn't get a reaction from the governing body or the attorney. And Mr. Rego is here, and you would think that that would be communicated on whatever action that we have to take. Because when these applicants come up here, we're going to be sitting on the wrong side of this, no matter what they come up here for. So I'm asking, if they didn't answer us, and I see Council President is here, maybe he could help us out too. As you know, we're an autonomous group. We try to keep a level playing field. You see what we do here. We go back and forth and we try to work things out. But I need some help. All I want is help. Tell me how we do this going forward.
Do what exactly?
Figure out how an applicant comes in here with you sitting here, and he feels that he is going to get a fair analysis of what is going to be done. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I think our founding fathers figured that out for us. I don't need to figure it out for you. I still have a right of free speech. And what I say and do on this planning board is in this room, and I hope it's at a level of decorum you'd accept. When I'm out of this planning board, I am still a citizen of the United States, and I have the same rights that you do. I wear more than 3 hats. My 4th hat is the citizen of the United States, and I will not allow anybody to mute my right of free speech, be it a member of this board, be it the governing body, or an applicant who may come in, or their attorneys. So I don't agree necessarily with the position of the letter. I read the court case that was cited in it. It applied to things that were happening at the planning board with conversations with a chairperson and another person on the board, but it looks like it was contained to the board. So I don't see the apples to apples. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not necessarily looking at it from that standpoint, but the request that I saw, because I am part of the governing body that the letter went to, was to have me step down. The answer is no, I will not. And the way I understand it in consulting with the town attorney, and maybe Lou, you can verify this, my level of class on this board, there are only 2 things that get me off: the vote of the governing body or me recusing myself or stepping down. So if I have plans because of maybe prejudging certain things that may or may not have happened at this board, whether they relate or don't relate to future applications, and I feel that I need to recuse myself, I'll make that decision. But in no way will I stop exercising my right of free speech or step down from this board. And I hope you can accept that.
Oh, I accept everything you say, Bill. I don't have anything personally wrong with you except what you just said here, that when you walk out of this room that you could say and do whatever you want. Part of being excuse me, well, you did, and we could play that right back. And what you said was, you have the freedom of speech, but you don't when it pertains to the planning board information, that you can try a case in your own head and give your opinion before the applicant comes before us. It's rule 1 of the planning board member. So Bill, I heard you out. You've clearly told me that you will not step down. That's your prerogative. That's the council liaison's prerogative. And you do what you want to do. But I will tell you, you have pierced the planning board veil of trust and integrity, and it really is a hard pill to swallow because you're standing behind what you said. So anything that goes on in these walls, you're bringing out there, and you've already made a clear decision from the planning board level to the council level that these people don't have a shot. And that's what you said.
Rich,
and
that's not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth. You're interpreting words that were not said. So let me rephrase it for you.
You want me to read it to you?
So I am a politician, right? That's my class 3 member on this board. That's the number that I am. That's me as politician.
Yeah, that's
politicians make statements and certainly do that along campaign routes, and that is protected free speech. So I am allowed to do that. I am allowed to take a position on that. And I also represent people in this borough who may share that same opinion as me. And I can be out there campaigning 3 years before my next election. You don't get to stop me from doing that. Nobody does. So I understand where you're coming from. I understand conflicts of interest. I understand prejudging things before they happen. I understand all that. And there's lessons to be learned in things that have happened. However, piercing the integrity of the board
Absolutely.
because I've made statements. Okay, that's your opinion. Others may share the opinion, I do not. So
How could you? You made the statement, and you did it politically. And what we do here is we don't do that here at the planning board level. We just don't do
I
it.
didn't do it at the planning board. I am still a politician in this town. I am still a
But you
citizen in this
cannot,
town. I can take a
you
position on
cannot
anything I
take
want.
a side on an application.
Okay,
You
and if I
cannot.
need to recuse myself from future applications like that one because of this, I will cross that bridge.
It's
when
not
it's
a
due.
question of recusing yourself from that application. The application in question, you can't hear anyway. You're not part of that. It's not even a question of that. You can't hear that case. The problem is that you set a precedent and you sent out the snake oil that says when those people are coming up here, you've already planted the seed that is going to sway us one way or another. This is the problem I have, Bill. You can go out and politic all you want, and God bless you. But when you bring planning board business outside these walls, that's when I have to take issue with it. And you can sit there and you can do whatever you want, and he can allow it, and that's what we're going to have to live with. But I'll tell you, it's not going to be good, because what happens when these applicants start taking their applications away from this town? Or what happens when they get to do whatever they want? And that's not happening right now. Don't give them the ammunition. And that's what you did. You clearly said, I'm going to, I'm sorry?
I don't see it going that far.
You don't?
No, I don't.
You
because
said I'm a politician now,
These are the
and
same
us
statements.
Republicans don't want to see any more big buildings.
Okay.
You clearly said that. And you may agree with it, Freddie. And that's your opinion. And thumbs up for you, Freddie. You may not like it. But you cannot take a position. Freddie, can you take a position in the planning board outside? You know better. You've been on this board 100 times. You can't do it. You can't do it.
As long as it doesn't involve an application for the board,
Excuse me?
as long as it doesn't involve an application for the board,
The application, the discussion was that this application was coming before the board. And what was said was, I heard that they're going to build X on the boulevard, and now we're going to have more with the 165, and as a politician, all Republicans are against it. You can't say that. You can politic, you can go do your thing, you can climb up a tree and scream, but you can't do it at this level. And if you can't see that, you're a sorry bunch.
well, no, listen, I disagree, I'm speaking in turn, but you know what? When you're
Did you just say you disagree with what I just said?
100%.
So Billy Morrow, the council liaison, could go outside and say, geez, I just heard that there's going to be an application of 222.
You can't talk about planning specific applications.
But he did. He did.
Okay, that I understand.
No, but no, you can't understand it and then disagree.
Policy whenever he resides.
Freddie, come on. You can't understand and disagree. It's either you can do it or you can't.
You can make general policy statements as much as you want.
That's not a general policy. It's a planning board
That's
rule.
what it sounded like to me.
I'm sorry?
You can make general policy statements regarding anything, as long as it doesn't involve a specific application.
Would you like us to read the statement? I'm sparing that.
So even if it is for the one...
Would you like us, Fred, to read the statement, or do you want me to spare it? Yeah, of course, and you can do whatever I want, right?
I'm just telling you in general, in my opinion, what the policy is.
Your opinion is, everybody has an opinion, but they're like assholes, everybody has one, right? So basically, Fred, pardon my French, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that, all right? I hope you accept my apology. The thing is, everybody has an opinion, but there are right ones and wrong ones. And you've been around long enough to know you don't take planning board business to the street. Because it was clearly said that we have an application coming before us what is it about? Okay, here's what we're...
He already said he'll recuse himself from that application.
Yes, I did.
He can't hear it anyway.
All right, so
What's the difference?
what's the point?
Yeah.
Because the poison is out there, Fred. The poison is out there.
Which is after every election cycle.
No, this is not an election. What you guys fight about in this courtroom is a ridiculous scene to begin with. Don't bring that ridiculousness here. it's ridiculous. You guys look,
I was just gonna say, at the end of the day, we have a letter from an attorney for an applicant that's coming before the board who has claims. Let me finish. He has read what Mr. Morrow posted on, whatever it was, Facebook. I'm not on social media. I do not know. But they found it, they read it, and they've written to us and stated that they now feel their applicant has been biased by this board. So he did bring it, this board's business, outside of this room. And at the end of the day, when we finally hear that case, if this board were to decide to reject that applicant, they're going to bring it to court and say they were biased before they even heard us. So there is our position and our problem. And if you can't understand that, well, I don't know what to tell you.
and it's surprising, Freddie, because you're a mayor, you're on the board, and you know what we're saying is right.
He's an attorney.
You're an attorney, too. Oh, you are? I forgot. You're an attorney. He's Bill, did you go for your classes yet for the planning board?
I did not.
You did not. So,
No, I
don't have to.
We disagree. I disagree. That's why I didn't respond.
so Fred Puglisi, you disagree about your liaison from council can go out to the street and talk about planning board business before the applicant becomes before us?
No, that I don't disagree with.
But that's what he did.
Okay. He can make.
Can we read it for you?
He can make general policy statements as much as he wants.
We're not making general statements, they're fact, they're in print. They're in print. They're in print.
Still
Read that document.
We've already agreed upon that, so.
What's that?
You can't talk about a specific application, that I understand. If he did.
But that's what he did.
All right, well, then that was a mistake, and you.
That's not a mistake, that's politicking. You can't bring that here. I had a meeting with Mr. Morrow in the back of the Italian deli, and I said, listen, let's be transparent here. Let's put the garbage aside. I almost did it again, Freddie, and I apologize. Let's put the garbage aside, and let's be straight down the arrow here. Let's talk freely. And that's not what happened. It's not what happened, Fred. And this planning board stands on integrity. No matter what you think about me, it stands on integrity. Take a look at the pictures up there, starting out with, I don't know, Kathy Fiamingo. And go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mayors. I'm still here. Democrats, Republicans. Why? Because I don't go for your stuff, or their stuff, or his stuff. I go for the right stuff. I just go for the right stuff. And when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But we ironed it out here as far as the board is concerned. Don't diminish the board. Don't diminish the board, Fred. You know you're wrong.
No, I don't, absolutely not.
So you commend what he did?
No, if he spoke about a specific application, I would agree with you that he should have done that.
So thank you for agreeing with me.
He recused himself from that application.
What's that?
He recused himself from that application.
Fred, do the right thing.
General policy statements as much as he wants.
They're not general. They're in print, Fred. They're in print.
In print doesn't mean they're not in general, by the way.
Look.
They're general
His
statements
accusation to general conversation. Bill, you know Freddie better than I, right?
General comments about the way I feel about overdevelopment in my town. Your town too. We have different opinions on that. And I made mine clear. I recused myself from that application. I can't vote anyway. You say that anyway.
You can't vote on that application.
But I am not stepping down, and if that's what you asked me, the answer is no.
Well, then you just put every applicant in jeopardy. You put this board in jeopardy, and you're co-signing it, Mr. Fred Puglisi. You're sitting there with that smug look on your face, and you're allowing him to continue to do what he's doing instead of helping him, educating him about the process.
It's no different from any, like, he runs for council and he says, I'm against overdevelopment.
He could say that all he wants, right?
And he becomes a member of planning.
He stops.
It's the same thing.
He stops.
No, you don't lose those.
He stops.
Don't lose my right to free speech, Rich.
You don't lose your right to free speech.
Talk about the development on 26.
I serve on the Board of
Talk about that
Education,
development, right?
and there are,
I
regulations against what I can say publicly in my position as a Board of Education member, which is an elected position.
I'm not going to let you mute my right of free speech. You're not hearing that.
Your right of free speech. You're talking over me when I'm not finished.
Because I'm not going to let you do it.
I haven't said that you should step down.
I did by recommendation.
And I may not disagree with him, but I haven't stated my position on it yet. But nevertheless, there are things that when you are in a certain role, you can and cannot say. And again, as a member of the Board of Education, I cannot go out and represent myself as a member of the board and make a statement on behalf, and make it, assume that it's the entire board.
I didn't represent myself as a member of this board.
You mentioned it was a
public meeting, it's on tape, what Kevin said.
How many council meetings did you talk about development on 26th Street? How many council?
I can't hear you, Fred.
How many council meetings did you stand up in support of the development on 26th Street?
So I was waiting for you to say that, Fred. You know that, right? You know I got a pretty good brain, right? You know I was waiting for you to say that. Play back every tape, and I was not in support of anything.
But
What? No. Here's what I said, and I will say it again. Most of you don't know the difference between affordable housing, Section 8, and what was the other one? The three of them. What are they, Fred? Affordable housing, Section 8, and
Section 8, it's about...
And what? Low income.
Well, you actually look at...
And this is what I was trying to explain.
There's an ordinance.
I'm sorry?
There's an ordinance that defines.
So I explained to the people in the courtroom that were saying that Section 8 houses were going into the 165 units. And I said, they are not. They are not Section 8 houses. They're affordable houses. Do you disagree with that? I would like to know.
Well, Section 8 can go anywhere.
Section 8 can go anywhere.
100%.
But there were not Section 8 houses allocated for the 165 units, were they? They weren't. It was affordable housing.
You can't stop it.
To the better, nobody says you can. I didn't say that.
Section 8 housing, what's that Section 8 housing?
Listen, I just saw another post that there's going to be 2,000 Section 8 houses in Merck. Didn't you just have a meeting with Merck?
I have no idea where that post is.
Okay, I'm just saying. I just saw that, right?
Check the deed.
Listen, guys. Listen. First of all, let's call a spade here. There are no Section 8 houses going in the 165 development, and
You don't know that.
that was not part of the application. That's what we were talking about.
Someone can apply with a Section 8 voucher.
If they come in with a Section 8 voucher, they could do that anywhere, right? Not just the 165, not the barracks that you show in your brochure. I get it. However, if you have a affordable housing that caters to your veterans, your police officers, your municipal workers first, that was part of your application. It was said, whether politically or not, I really don't care. I was here to clarify the document. That's it. I never said I was for it. I never said I was against it. I was clarifying the statement. And that's the difference between what Mr. Morrow did and what Mr. Paserno did. He went out there and said, we don't want them, and no Republicans want them. And that's where he crossed the line. Yes, Mr. Ladato.
So, I'm not on social media either, so I don't know exactly what the wording was, but here's my concern. So, we get an application in here, we vote no. Can the applicant bring up and say, because of this letter, or what was ever done, whether it was 6 months ago, whenever it was, use that and say, now we're going to say, what, can they go to, like, we voted no, can they bring that to Union County or somewhere like that? I don't, whatever's going on, I'm just worried about the town and the planning board and what we're doing up here. Because every time we could say no, like you said, Mr. Papara, I think we vote no, I vote no on that project.
Oh.
Well, no, I'm just saying, that's just one example. But what if someone comes out 6 months ago, can they use that material or that information and say, okay, you voted no on this, so now I'm going to take it somewhere else? That's all I want to know about on this issue, right? Is it going to cost us more work, more time in the town money because we have to go, or can you go to Cranford, right?
To your point,
That's what I want to know about this.
That's why I asked if Mr. Morrow would step down, step aside graciously before it came into this Donnybrook from his council liaison and say, hey, look, why don't we put this fire out a little bit, get somebody in here, so when the people come in, they feel like the planning board and the governing body work together to try to correct the problem. What's wrong with that? Nobody said, hey, you're an idiot. God forbid. Nobody's saying that, Bill. I think you're an intelligent man. You bring on
Does anybody have said anybody called me an idiot?
What's that? No, what I'm saying, it's not personal. I should say it's not personal. But what I'm saying is, the governing body is supposed to work alongside the planning board, and the planning board is supposed to work alongside the governing body. Whether they pick them or not, we're supposed to work together as a team. And when one side gets tarnished by the other side, all I'm saying is, Billy, do the right thing.
Well, look, you know that I come here to do business.
I know you do.
We sat here tonight and we debated ordinances. That's what we're doing. You have a problem with what I said outside this board. You say it connects to things that happened on this board. I'm off the application. To tell me, though, that I can't say my position, my beliefs, because I'm on this board, is incorrect.
It's not incorrect.
It is incorrect. I have a right of free speech, and I do not give that up by being on the council or being on this planning board. And I understand conflicts of interest in places where I'm saying things. I'm saying things outside of the planning board. If I made a connection to things, that's where I went wrong. That does not mean that I can never hear an application again. It doesn't mean I can't work with this board, and it doesn't mean that we can't work together.
So, can I ask one more question of our attorney? So,
I'm sorry?
Let's just say I'm not on the board, Smar's not on the board, this whole board has changed 6 months from now or a year from now.
Right.
Like, could someone still bring this up? That's my concern. If we have like another project of, like another apartment building, a 4-apartment building, I don't know. That's my concern of this whole thing. I don't really care about anything else.
Up until this moment, Mr. Ladati, I have never felt that our integrity and our trust would have been challenged by an applicant standing at that microphone. And I feel that at this point, it is.
Well, that's true. I don't want to cut you off, but that's an attorney representing an applicant, correct?
Excuse me?
So that's an attorney representing an applicant. So he's going to do whatever he has to do.
Absolutely.
That's in the best interest of his client.
But he has grounds for it. Now he has grounds for a position, right? He has a position now he can take.
He can take any position.
Well, if an applicant came up here, Freddie, and it was a football game, why would he want to be down 7 points before he got here? And that's what's going on here.
If that's the attorney for that applicant, then Billy already said he will not partake in a discussion of that application.
That application doesn't matter. We're not fighting about that application. You can't hear that application.
He's entitled to make general statements. And that's how politicians,
no question.
That's how people love
Listen,
you can't say
you are distorted in your understanding of what a planning board member, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4, hit their requirements. You're distorted. He cannot, she cannot talk about anything pertaining to the application for or against. Can't.
I would agree with you with a specific application, absolutely. But there's no, I don't think we disagree as that.
It's specific.
Absolutely, we agree as that.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is he can't partake in any other applications moving forward.
He said any multi-dwellings that come into this town, right? Any.
That's not what it said.
Well, it's close. Let's just read it. Let's
Go ahead, get it on the record.
I don't want it on the record, Bill. I want you to step down. I want you to step down like a man.
I would like for you to step down, but you're not going to. Everyone can have their own opinion, right?
If I did something wrong, Freddie, come and tell me to step down, and then I will do that. If I didn't do anything wrong here, all I'm asking is to clean up the act. That's all.
I will get political. The Republicans in town are against this. We don't want to lose our colonial-style town to developers' plans for high-capacity housing. Where in there am I making statements that recuse or have to be forced to never vote on an application again? Because those are the same types of things that I've said on the campaign trail, and I will continue to say, because I've invested my life savings in this town along with other residents, and we want it to be preserved as a colonial-style town.
Well, one could argue that any kind of high-capacity developer comes in with an application, that you should recuse yourself.
So let's not just take an excerpt. Let's
I'm
not.
just saying, that's a possible thing.
Let's not take an excerpt, all right? Want more apartment buildings in Kenilworth? At yesterday's planning board meeting, the town planner announced that he is reviewing plans for a 7-unit apartment building to go up on the boulevard in Michigan Avenue. This is 2 blocks away from 165 units. Building. We'll start seeing we'll start seeing it go up in a few months. And get this, there are people in town that want to entertain us. I will get political here. The Republicans in town are against it. I'm a Republican. We don't want to lose our colonial-style town to developers' plans for high-capacity housing.
So you think I speak for all Republicans in town when I make a statement?
You made that statement on your council page.
Okay.
On a council page.
So you told me I'm not an idiot, and I don't think anybody here is, but nobody actually believes that, right? There's not one person who says that they could speak for other people. This is America, right? So I don't get to do that for everybody else.
Well, then you're calling all the voters of Kenilworth idiots because you want
No, I know what my base wants, and it's not high-capacity housing. Why don't you ask them? Why don't you ask the people in town what they want?
I don't have to ask them.
Okay, well, I did, because...
Against it too.
Like,
So you want to try that case? Let's do that, Bill. Let's go to toe-to-toe. Him, all your people out there say, we don't want this, we don't want that. Should the council in this town have not approved 165 units?
I would have voted no if I was...
You would have voted no, and he would have voted no, and everybody would have voted no. And then somebody would have came in and just done it any old way they wanted, because it is the law. They can do what they want.
You can bring suit against us,
Of
right?
course they can, and they're going to win.
It's not automatic the way you say.
It is automatic, Bill.
It is not automatic the way you say.
Oh, come on.
They have to build...
Because they approached me, when I was mayor, they approached Kathy when she was mayor, about the same property and the same project was similar, okay? And we said, and they asked if you supported it. We out and out said no. They left.
You could have said...
They did not come back.
You could have said...
Only until they found a more lengthful ear that was willing to hear their spiel that this project moved forward. But when they came to Kathy, when they came to me, we said, no, we don't want to hear it, we're not going to entertain it.
So, Fred.
Apparently the fox was led into the hen house. The project started, there was two mayors after me, and now it's going to be developed. Okay, that's a difference of opinion.
Why are we going off on this tangent?
Yeah, I think we need to...
Other projects.
Listen. You know a lawsuit was coming. You knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. Decisions had to be made. So anyway, let's just say, Mr. Attorney, speak your mind.
Okay. I've been biding my time.
Good.
Before everyone goes out in the parking lot with crowbars, let me just say this. I don't live in Kenilworth. I don't care what the politics is. In fact, I don't know. I've heard it's Republican. I don't know, and I don't care. I've worked in many towns, planning boards. I do now. I've done in the past. I've worked with big city mayors. I've worked with Jim McGreevy when he was mayor of Woodbridge, Cory Booker when he was mayor of Newark, Chris Ballwage and Elizabeth, Hector Loren Passaic. These guys ran on, for the most part, when they ran for mayor, when they ran for office, they were pro-development. And I've worked in Republican towns where they're not so happy with development. And that's fine. That's fine. And I know Billy has said, you know, he's a politician. If you look at the land use law, and this is not, I'm not trying to cut hairs here. The Class 3 is a member of the governing body. The Class 3 does not say a politician. Governing body members, for the most part, are politicians. That's the way it is. Politicians are free to say, I'd rather my town stay the way it is, or we really need development. The problem comes in, and I think we all agree with this, the problem comes in when there's a specific application, and you had mentioned the Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah.
The Dunkin' Donuts, you specifically mentioned the fact that you weren't thrilled with that application. That was a specific application, and I think Fred said he would agree, if you're talking about, if a planning board member's talking about a specific application, it gets, and takes a position before we even have seen it, it gets dicey. And regardless of the political climate, you can take a position. I mean, if there's an application, Bill, and you don't like it, don't telegraph it. I mean, you can sit here and listen and say yes, ask your questions, and then vote no. That's not a problem. It's when I got a guy like Joe Paparo, who's a really good attorney, he's going to come in, and it'll be a Board of Adjustment. We're wearing our Board of Adjustment hat. That's why you can't sit. Not that you're recused. You can't sit because Class 1 and Class 3 doesn't sit for a use variance. So you can say, well, I'm not involved in that anyway, and that's true. But if you were, and I got Joe Paparo, who's not going to let it slip, he would say, we got this problem with Bill Morrow, whatever, he's already taken a position against my application, I got to tell you to step down. Otherwise, and if you sit, anything this board does by law is deemed void. We could have a 5-session hearing on this, and we make a decision, and the judge is going to say, this guy shouldn't step down because he's against it, or he's for it.
Can you clarify what you just said? That's applicable to the specific application or all applications?
Let's take it one at a time.
Yeah.
If and Fred agrees with this, if there's a specific application or applications, and it gets dicier if you say, certainly it's clear if you say, this specific application on Main Street, on South Street, whatever, I hate it. Okay, if that's your position, and you still sit with the planning board, you can't, okay? Well, yes, but if you say, if it's broader than that, and say, and what makes it a little more, what makes it worse here is the fact that it's been put in the papers or whatever. I received a copy of this, so other people read it. If you say, I'm going to be the Class 3 member, and Class 3 members of planning boards are in awkward positions because, and fortunately, even though I've done big city boards, I've not seen it get to this level. You know, there's a line, I'm a Class 3 member, I have my views, and I'm also a planning board member, and I got to hear applications fairly.
What's your point, Lou?
My point is, if it's an application that any board member prejudges, they can't sit. If someone says, we Republicans, as I think was in there, are against all multifamily housing, that gets a little crazy too, because you have applicants coming in with 2 and 3 and 5 family houses, and they're going to say, you guys are already on record as saying you're against it. So with regard to anybody on the board, but specifically a Class 3, because you've been more outspoken as the meetings go on, which is fine, and you have your views, but you got to keep them in check when it comes to specific applications. Hear them, vote yes, vote no, but don't put a stamp on it.
I appreciate that, Lou, and it sounds like your recommendation, when you say step down, it just means from a specific application.
We take them one at a time.
We take them one at a time.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I'm not saying you need to
the board is not the legal or the attorney's advice, and I would still say no. But I thank you for what you said there. It's a good lesson to learn, and it does sound like it doesn't jeopardize the integrity of the board, because we have to do this one at a time.
Now, first, keep it out of websites. If an application comes in your heart of hearts, you hate it, you hate it. But don't say publicly to everybody, I hate this, but I'm going to listen to it. Just come in, listen, you vote. They don't. You know, the applicant doesn't vote. You do. That's when you have your say. And you can say at the end, this is not really good, boom, boom, but don't, any board member, I've had board members say crazy stuff, but don't say ahead of time, I'm really in favor of this or I'm really against this, because then you put yourself and I've seen members, not on this board, I've seen members do crazy stuff, and a sharp attorney will say, get out of here.
And my statement was consistent with the master plan, because we only allow 26 units per acre, so high-capacity housing is larger than that, and that's
You're
where...
missing the point, Bill, and you're off base.
Well, you know what, Rich? I'm not
You're missing the point, Bill.
disagreeing with you. How
You
about
just-
that? So-
You can disagree all you want.
I'm
You're missing the
disappointed
point.
in me. I will not lose sleep tonight.
You think for one moment
I'm not.
that
You're telling me
I
you're
think you would
disappointed.
lose some, I didn't say I was disappointed.
You absolutely just did. You said I'm disappointed in you. So, I can't take.
I think
We should move on.
Yeah.
I just think you need to throttle it back a bit. If you're a board member, wonderful. I think you could be an asset. You learn quick, but just on any application, just take it one at a time. Don't prejudge.
It's not the case, Lou. So, well, I'm going to have to interrupt you as the board chair, and I'm going to have to tell you that the integrity here of this board is not a case-by-case basis when you feel like saying something wrong about an application which has got a blanket over the entire board. Come on, Lou.
No.
I know you're trying to be
No.
helpful here, but what you are being is saying, okay, the next time just be a little careful. No, that's not what we're saying.
One specific application that's egregious, and that's I think we all agree with that. That can't happen.
Look,
Don't talk to me.
listen, I'm going to just tell you right here and now, okay? The conversation that was had via the text or the Facebook post or the 138 or the 972, I don't care what it was.
Right.
It tells people that there's a predetermined decision that is made on these types of applications.
There's language in there to that
Okay?
effect.
Not just this one. These types. Why do we have to deal with that?
If these lawyers come up in the future and raise that issue, I think Mr. Ladati said.
That was my question.
Are we going to be
An hour
here
ago.
5 years from now?
That was my exact question.
Listen, let me just, for example, there's the Stop the Warehouse movement, right? In all these towns across the state, no one wants warehouses. So these politicians are wanting us, let's change the topic, stop the warehouses. I've dealt with them on a professional level. So they run and they get elected, right? Then they become a Class 3 member. Does that mean you're not able to hear any application for a warehouse? If what Mr. Pacerno was saying, in his opinion, is true, that means they can't sit on any warehouse. Just because when they ran, they put out a flyer, we don't like warehouse, put it into warehouses or something to that effect.
You missed my statement then, Fred. I didn't say when he was campaigning. I heard what he was saying.
But it's the same
But
thing.
it's not the same.
It's a statement.
When you take the information out of this, I'm sorry?
It's not analogous.
Yeah.
He's a sitting council member and planning board member.
Yeah, it's
You just
different.
made reference to somebody who's running for office.
I'm
So
running.
they're not elected to any.
Running is different.
Matter.
I said that. Running is different. You got a position, When you're on the planning board, you got to be more.
Can I make a motion that we open the meeting to the public?
Certainly. Motion made by Mr. David, second by Mr. Clemente. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? No. How about you, cameraman? No? Okay.
I make a motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
Made by Mr. David, second by Mr. Demundo.
And I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, folks.
Which I think, coming from